Yo, bendición, what up, everybody? So, I guess not happy Santa Semana, pero it's Santo Semana. Santa Semana. You know, my Spanish sucks. So, real quick, I want to show you guys this. Okay. Do I have my Santos, my orisha, covered in white? And this is my Olokun. That's Indy's. She does not have hers covered. Mine, I do, and I just happen to have that. And I always keep that with my watala, but... so the idea being that there's an old school tradition that is not followed by a lot of santeros or the less, santeria. Some people don't like the word santero or santeria, none of that. So there are olochas that do practice this and olochas that don't. I personally do. I am pro of the syncretism because I find it, it's the way that Ocha was kept alive. Why do I got my peoples covered in white? I did a video like this last year. So the idea being that old school santeros during Holy Week, during Santa Semana, would cover their ochas with a white sheet. No readings are done for the week. No of any kind. No dilugun, no ifa, no eboses are prescribed. There's no misas. There's no trabajos, there's no hechiceria, nothing for the week. If at not the week, then at least Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No workings whatsoever on Good Friday, the middle day, and Easter. Those days are considered sacred. Why? Because of the syncretism with Catholicism and Jesus and how it basically is a sign of respect to Jesus. Now, I personally grew up in a household. My mother is Crown Ochum. I grew up in a household where during Santa Semana, the orisha are left alone. And she would tell me about covering them in white. I grew up hearing Ochum called La Carrera de Cobre. I grew up hearing a orisha called Santo. Que Santo tiene hecho. So that this is just normal for me. For me personally, what it represents is the idea that God is above anything and everything. Whether you want to call it him, her, Olofi, Olodumare, Olorum, Allah, whatever. But in this case, we're talking about Jesus. The idea that Jesus is so profound. And God, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, 3 in 1. That Jesus is above even orisha. Jesus is above espiritismo. My bóveda, I didn't show it, but basically everything taken off. Put a white sheet on the table. Take the goblet, the middle glass. Remove the water. I'll show you guys. I got it right here. So basically, this would normally be filled with water. I just do one just to keep it simple, okay? The water out, put down like that, and then a crucifix on top. At this time, for this week, there are no trabajos. I do not smoke any of my guías espirituales. Essentially, the orisha and the muerto get ignored. And there are absolutely zero trabajos. Okay, but aside from the idea that sometimes in a way of mocking the death of Jesus, some people will do works on Good Friday. And that's when, so-called evil works or Jewish prendas are made, evil works. But when I see my orisha covered, I see it for me personally. And please let me know in the comments, agree to disagree. Is this hiding the orishas? Is this glorifying the colonizers? Or is it a beautiful tradition? For me personally, I see it as an acknowledgement of God, of Jesus, being above anybody, above orisha. That this man that I grew up starting worshiping first is above everybody else. And as a sign of respect, this is like a physical representation of all the orisha and all the guías espirituales, ayer bóveda, bowing to the concept of there is a King of Kings and a Lord of Lords, and his name is Jesus Christ. Of course, um, there's going to be the concept of what about if you're Muslim or whatever. I don't know. This is just how I grew up. I remember my Olu, I can't remember the fancy name to say like your personal Babalao. But I remember asking him, I wanted a reading, and he said, no, I can't. That's Semana Santa. Nobody does nothing on at that time. So yeah, for me, this represents God, Jesus Christ, being above all of them. Now, even if my path of Owatala is Babao Gian. Even if my path was Obamoro, I would still have them covered up. Because at the end of the day, Obatala is Obatala and God is God. Jesus is Jesus. Okay? So I guess it depends on whether a person considers Jesus to be God. Or it's a personal preference of whether you consider Jesus Christ to be higher than orisha when it comes to the hierarchy of spirits, because there's hierarchy of spirits, spirits, beings, deities, whatever. So I got the crucifix right at the top, everybody covered. Let me know if this is a tradition that you personally practice. I just learned recently, I haven't gotten the opportunity to ask exactly what it means, but I learned that in Cuba, old school, not santeros, but like old school, just old people, when there's a thunderstorm outside, a person will cover the Santa Barbara, their Saint Barbara statue, with a white cloth. When there's a thunderstorm outside. What that means, I don't know, but I put two and two together, just the concept of covering, draping white over your santos. I don't know if it was, the guy said over the statue of Santa Barbara. I don't know if that's over Chango, but it's just the same concept of covering somebody who's considered high, whether it be the saint or the orisha, Chango or the saint, covering that in white cloth when there's a thunderstorm. So if anybody of you know the origin of that or what that really means, let me know. But me personally, I consider Jesus Christ King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and comes before any muerto, comes before any egun, comes before any orisha. I acknowledge God. And this is just a physical representation of that, of God, of Olofi, being above everybody else. And you see a little Echu peeking out over there. And then at the end, on me, I will uncover them all. I'm not gonna go through the trouble of like refreshing everybody. Just put omitutu and salute, and that's it. And then the boveda will be out of repose. Flip it, pour water, go back to normal. Smoke everybody and all that jazz. Another old tradition I forgot to mention during this time, when it comes to old school espiritismo, that's more so with Catholicism, but espiritismo, Catholicism, Puerto Rico, Cuba. I hear that my grandmother, she was an espiritista. She was not a santera at all. She died around the 70s. I never met her. During Semana Santa, and especially Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the time leading up to Saturday and then into Sunday, you know what I mean? There was no music, there was no festivities. There is no Rishi music. There's not going to be no tambores this whole week. There's not going to be no eboses, no readings, no dilogun, no nikin, nothing. There's just rosaries recited. There's no festivities of any kind. There's no laughing. There's no happy music. This week is supposed to be a somber week in honor of who? Jesus, aka God. Why do we say God? God the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, 3 in 1. So let me know whether you agree or disagree. I know I'm going on and on and on. So happy Semana Santa. And let me know your personal customs and beliefs. There are going to be a lot of people that disagree with me, saying that this is a complete disrespect to all the orisha. But this is old school, and I know that my elders do not practice this or have anything to do with syncretism. But I acknowledge it as an old school way of doing it, and I appreciate that. Give other people the respect of, if that's what you want to do, cover them up. If not, then don't. If I had any God kids and they say Padrino, I completely disagree with that. I find that to be a big disrespect to your orishas because Ocha and Catholicism have nothing to do with each other, and the slaves only did that stuff to survive, and it's a slap in the face to your orisha. I'd be like, I respect you, Ayahalo. Don't cover them. Do what you got to do. But you'll be hard pressed to find any santero that's doing an añá or reading or voces or misas espirituales or any readings or hechicería or workings during this week. So, peace out.